Today, we'll share a little bit on a few cases on how some very, very good social innovation project is actually working. So I'll start with the first one. One of the things that's happening right now is both NASA in the US and NASA in China is talking about sending people to Mars. We want to send a few persons, let's say 5 people, within the spaceship. Think about how costly that is. Most of the things are used once, and then after you send it there, and you actually need somehow to have fuel there to actually send the people back. That's the problem that NASA is facing. It's a very complicated science, engineering, business problem that needs to be solved. Anybody knows how Elon Musk is trying to solve this? As an entrepreneur? It's normal way of thinking. His argument is completely different. Instead of sending 5 people there, sending 1 million people there, and if they don't have to come back, let's say if the ozone layer actually breaks, so Earth ends, and sending 1 million people there might be a way to save this species, right? It's actually very interesting thinking. Asking the right question might actually help us solve the problem. By asking the right questions, this is what they have done. So go online, and if you're interested, you can see the PowerPoint. The basic concept is there are people who want to go. When he was presenting this, he was actually talking about even this is, as a tourism, people might want to go. So instead of sending 5 people, if you send more people, but this actually at first is 10 billion people per person for the cost. But if you have more people who can go, then it will go down. The cost will actually go down, and that's a very important, very simple concept of economy of scale to do it. And by doing that, at that point of time, he identified quite a few things that they need to do. So by actually defining, and obviously they are starting to do it now. What do we see in this person? What mindset does he have? What top skill does he have? He's not really an engineer, so none of these is done by him. So, but somehow, he actually put all these together. What are the attributes of an entrepreneur that can create a project like this? Perseverance, adventurous, leaving your comfort zone, asking the right questions, super intelligent, of course. Having fun doing it is important. So being able to actually, and also convince other people to actually do it. So leadership is also very important. Look at his speech. Very important person. Being able to articulate the dream is actually very important. So those are skills that innovators should have. You should start thinking about your own career, about, okay, these are some of these skills I need to learn. None of these are particularly designed into our past in all our courses. So you need to start thinking, how do I pick up these skills? Okay, the second one. What Joe have just done, it's a very important part of entrepreneurship. It's called elevator pitch. When you think about the app, it actually explains why the app is designed that way. And so it's called user experience. And the whole user experience is designed for one thing, which he just talked about, which is trust. Another very interesting is within that 3 minutes, he's been able to actually articulate something very, very important. A problem where, okay, it's hard to find places to stay. Or we don't trust each other, that might be the problem. A solution, or somehow they bump into it and then work and then look into doing it. And the third one is actually they actually find somebody to actually do it together. We'll come back to this, but elevator pitch is a very important area. That's something that a visionary would do a lot. And being able to actually come out within elevator being within a very short period of time. Basically 3 things. 1, what's the problem? 2, what's the solution? 3, why you? So because of that, so within the 2-3 minutes of time, you actually need to do it. Again, if you think about Elon Musk, he actually, within a very short period of time, we define the problem. So asking the right question is very important. And by doing this, you actually be able to actually ask the right question, we think the whole process to actually, that's also very important for a startup and for an entrepreneur. Airbnb, so it's very, very successful. And because it's actually, they actually create second-tier business. They actually create second-tier business with insurance, with different things to actually allow this to happen. And so instead of going to the big hotels, next time you go to Seoul, this actually is something that's worth trying. The first time that Joe thought about doing Airbnb is only 10 years ago. The technology at that point wasn't even available. This actually, next week will be the 10th anniversary of iPhone. So smartphone only started 10 years ago. And how big is Airbnb right now? Airbnb is $40 billion valuation right now. Uber, nobody really knows, but last round is $65 billion, one of the largest private companies in the world. But none of them are more than 10 years. So very short period of time and innovation can deliver major social impact. Okay, about Joe. What does Airbnb or what does, as an entrepreneur project, as a startup, have? We talk a little bit about visions and then reaching out different people and so on. What kind of mindset they should have? Any idea? So a lot of people, entrepreneurs, will see opportunities. They are likely opportunists. And they are not pessimists. They are optimists. If you start seeing a new opportunity, and it's very difficult, you need to be very persistent. But somehow something really works. When we talk about Ian, one thing very important is you're not afraid of failure. And being able to try again and again and again, it's today's world. It's the cost of failure is very low. If you couldn't get funding this week in Kickstarter, next week try it again. Try something else. And then there's no cost of it, basically. Nobody knows that you actually failed. So these are actually important areas that we can look into. Okay? Okay, beyond that, let me go for another case, which actually is myself. So this actually is two social enterprise that I've started. This actually is called Web Organic, and let me explain a little bit. Basically, I was trying to solve this very difficult problem, which is poverty. The best way to actually solve it is to provide very good education for the poor. Just a few years ago, in United Nations, there was a discussion about connecting through the internet being a human right. Because instead of just having a place to stay, food to eat, a good education, and now I would argue actually a good education will require being connected. We go to Hong Kong Telecom, which is a network provider. So the way I do it is I actually go to them and say, why don't I buy 100 gig from you? And then we cut it small, so that each person can actually do it. So obviously we need to invent some software to actually do it. And by doing that, you just pay for what you need to, what you use. And obviously, since it's connection 0 to 1, they're connected, they don't mind a little bit slower. But over time, it actually gets faster and so on. So by doing that, we actually buy the big chunk and cut it small, so that we actually more or less save 40% out of the whole process. So by doing that, we actually be able to actually reallocate some of the resource and actually create something completely low price, but the value is the same. So with these three projects, we start seeing that it can be very, very good project, very large for saving the earth, changing the whole hotel industry, or even just helping a small chunk of people within the city. All these are actually done, can actually be done through innovation. And this innovation can be technology oriented, can be business model oriented, can be effectively reallocating things. So in a way, we actually need to look into, is there a new way to actually solve this problem? And social innovator, actually, arguably, all these people, including myself and these people, are actually social innovators because they are actually using innovation to actually try to solve major human or major city or major social issues. Okay, I would like to end with a final story. When I'm very young, about 6, many years ago, she come to me and say, okay, if there's a time machine, and the time machine, let's say today, so Erwin comes back in from tomorrow, from someday in the future, and come back and tell Erwin that, okay, if you continue this lifestyle, working too hard or wherever, or drinking too much, or not sleeping enough, or having too much fun, I don't know. So then you die soon. What can we do to actually start using innovation to predict different things and so on? Today, one of the most important technologies that we're working with is actually big data. So we are actually beyond statistics. With enough data, we actually know for a fact that things happen. At that point of time, she doesn't know. Even today, sometimes we don't know why and how the things happen. By 2030, that number, forget the percentage, is actually 2.5. So if from 1.5 million people within that 10 years, 2.5 million people will be retiring. So because of that, we also need to have medical system or model to actually do it. So one opportunity is to use big data to actually look into it. We start looking into these people, and then obviously they need to be able to demonstrate that they be able to actually take risk, take leadership and explain clearly what they want to do, be persistent, be able to actually show how it works. Obviously, being visionary too is important. And then believe in what you do, even though other people might not. Obviously, sometimes that might mean you're stupid, but sometimes it might mean you are a genius, so it depends on how it goes. Innovate your way out of it, inventing out of it. And innovate meaning, not invention usually means you're building something. Innovation can actually be a model. By changing that model, those rooms are useless. I'll be able to actually sell it. So that actually helps solve a lot of problems. And then all those are actually through innovations. And obviously, stepping outside of your comfort zone to actually allow you to actually do it. And actually getting money is also very, very important. And having that vision and passion to do it, and the diligence to actually deliver it. All those are very, very important. So this actually, it's the basically entrepreneurial mindset. Can you actually use some of your know-how to actually start solving these? Either as a business or as a social innovation. Innovative thinking is very, very important. We are now talking about potentially when you graduate, a lot of the career that's very hot today will actually be gone. AIs, machine learning, or whatever, or some of the new models will actually change a lot of what's happening. So being able to think about yourself, and some of the entrepreneurial class is actually designed so that you can learn to be an entrepreneur of yourself. So think about all the things we talked about. Take risk, leaving your comfort zone, being able to articulate what you are strong in, be persistent, be diligent, be able to actually bring in other people, leadership, so that they be able to have work on things. That's not just entrepreneurship minor, that's not just a major, that's something that's very important for yourself.